The Babysitter Story is a scary story based on an urban legend about a teenage girl who is babysitting 3 children one night when she receives a creepy phone call from a strange man. It is also known as the babysitter and the man upstairs. There was a young girl who was in need of a job and was able to find work as a babysitter for a couple who lived in a large, isolated old house. They were going to see a movie that night and left the teenage babysitter in charge of their 3 young children. The babysitter put the children to bed. When it got late, she went downstairs to watch some television. She was just getting comfortable when she heard the phone ringing. When she answered it, all she heard was heavy breathing followed by a man's voice asking, "Have you checked on the children?" Freaked out, she hung up the phone, trying to convince herself that it was just someone playing a practical joke on her. She went back to watching television, but about 15 minutes later, the phone rang again. She picked up and heard a hysterical voice and a laughter from the other end of the line. Then the same voice asked, "Why haven't you checked on the children?" The babysitter slammed down the phone. The poor girl was frightened out of her wits and immediately called the police. The operator at the police station told the babysitter that if the man called again, she should try to keep him talking. That would give the police time to trace the call. A few minutes later, the phone rang a third time, and when the babysitter answered it, she heard the heavy breathing again. The voice on the line said, "You should really check on the children." The babysitter listened to him, laughing hysterically for a long time. She hung up the phone again, and almost immediately it rang again. This time, it was the operator from the police station who yelled, "Get out of the house right now. The calls are coming from the upstairs phone." The babysitter dropped the phone in shock, and suddenly she heard heavy footsteps walking down the stairs. Without pausing for a second, she ran out of the house as fast as her legs would carry her. Just as she closed the front door behind her, a man's hand slammed against the glass. She screamed and ran out into the streets just as the police car was pulling up outside. The police searched the house and found 2 children upstairs hiding in a closet, crying uncontrollably. In the parents' bedroom, they found a bloody axe lying on the floor next to upstairs phone. The hack window was wide open, and the curtains were blowing in the breeze. There was no sign of the madman who had made the phone calls. He had escaped into the night when the police arrived and managed to interrupt his horrible plan to kill the 2 children and the poor babysitter. Blind Maiden is a scary urban legend from Spain about a bizarre website that offers you the ultimate horror experience. Unfortunately, the experience can prove to be lethal. They say that most of the time the website is offline and you cannot access it no matter how hard you try. However, according to the rumor, there are 3 rules you must obey in order to access the website. You must be all alone. You must turn off all the lights in your house. You must go to the website at exactly midnight on a moonless night. If you satisfy all these conditions, you will apparently be granted access to the Blind Maiden site. Once inside, your eyes will immediately be assailed by a never-ending montage of shocking and screaming faces. The pictures are of boys and girls. The faces are twisted in tremendous fear, their mouths frozen in a silent scream. Their eyes are missing. The pictures are displayed quickly, flashing up on screen one after the other, with no explanation. According to the legend, some lines of Spanish text will appear on the screen. Roughly translated, the text reads something like this: "This website will take you to a whole new level of horror. A horror that will use all 5 of your senses. You must be very careful not to click on anything by accident. You will be faced with a real experience of absolute horror. Click the accept button to engage actively in the experience." Below the text are 2 buttons, accept and decline. At this point, you'll probably be very curious. you'll probably find yourself tempted to click on the accept button. But don't. If you accept the challenge, you will only be taking your life in your hands. Click decline and stay safe. This is supposed to happen if you click the button and accept the challenge. To your surprise and horror, you observe on your monitor a sinister silhouette walking towards your own home. You want to wake up. You want this to be a nightmare. You watch as the spectre approaches and enters the same room you are sitting. You will see on your monitor your own back. Then you will feel a presence behind you. You will feel a tap on your shoulder. The last thing you see before you die will be the face of the blind maiden staring mercilessly at you with her horrible eyes. According to what I have been able to research, they say the blind maiden will rip out your eyes and take a snapshot of your face so that you will be forever a part of the website's picture gallery. Are you willing to take the risk? The choice is yours. As I said earlier, I found out that the blind maiden website from a friend of mine who lives in Spain. I don't know whether or not this urban legend is true. As far as I know, the legend is currently unknown outside of Spain. Honestly, I have not yet attempted to find the website. Yes, I admit it. I'm too afraid. Here is a rough English translation of a comment from a Spanish boy who claims to have accessed the website. Blind maiden or La Doncella Ciega or El Ciego de Soltera, whatever you want to call it, this urban legend is real and I almost suffered the consequences of messing with that crazy site. The story is that there is a web page which you can only enter if you are totally alone with all the lights off and exactly at midnight. After that, whatever you do, don't click where it says accept the challenge, because when you do this, you will die, probably within minutes. I didn't take this advice. I did the opposite and totally accepted the challenge. Right at that moment, I clicked the button. Everything I saw on the screen became so real. I saw a shadow walking towards a place that seemed to be my home, and I saw it walk to where I was. Paralyzed by fear, I could not move a muscle. Then it came to the door and began to open it. Right then, I turned around and saw the door behind me opening. And then I see this face was indescribable, but it had no eyes. Then it came closer and I heard it whispering something I could not understand. And this face changed and became gruesome and with an expression of terror I will never forget. I ran with everything I could and I tripped over something on the floor and I hit the edge of my study table and I fell unconscious. It seems she must have thought I was dead because thanks to that, I survived. Never again in my life will I play with supernatural, and I'll never underestimate its power.